Hello, I am Tinne from Victoria Designs, and I want to introduce you to someone who has been one of the most important people in my life for over 18 years. Before he became anyone's teacher, he was just a person who helped me and supported me, and I've never forgotten it. Joachim, welcome. Can you say a few words about who you are?
Well, I think the most important parts here are that I've always been very sensitive. And I, as a child, used to be hypervigilant, which means that because of growing up with trauma, I was always making sure that everyone around me was okay, without the capacity to check if I was actually okay. So that's been an important part of how I grew up and who I became. And then, I've gone through many things in life. I was a musician at first, I was a composer, I was a singer. Then I became an entrepreneur, I created a business with you. And then finally, now in the past couple of years, I've been transitioning to becoming a coach, a teacher, a spiritual guide of some kind. And I'm very happy to be here with you today.
How did the two of us actually meet? And what were you and I like back then?
Well, it's been a while. I think we met on Facebook, of all places, in some kind of a social game that was the rage back then. And since we both had a lot of common friends in the musicians world in Belgium, I think that's how we overlapped. And then we started chatting. And how were we? I think you were your wonderful, quirky self already back then. And I was still very much figuring out who I was. I was still very much invested in my career as a musician back in the day. But I was already kind of thinking about my healing process and how I could make my life better, because I felt that something was off, but I hadn't quite figured out where to begin that search yet. And that's who I was 18 years ago.
Yeah. A lot of people in our community have never worked with a coach or a spiritual guide. And honestly, some of them are a bit skeptical. What would you say to someone who's curious but also a bit wary?
I think the skepticism is healthy, always. It's good to check if you can trust people. And I believe that trust really can only be built with time. So there's no shortcut. I think what's important to understand from the way I work is that when I say spiritual guide, there's nothing fluffy there. There's no woo. It's very practical. It's very grounded. It's all about real exercises that you can use in your daily life to become more of yourself and have a life that's more fulfilling. And so there's no specific kind of beliefs that are required. I won't ask you to manifest away your problems. You don't need to wave around incense, although you can if you want to. It's a very kind of grounded practice and very practical in its nature.
When I sent our survey out in my previous video, more than 500 women answered. And the thing that came up again and again was this: I always put everyone else first. Why do you think that's so common, especially for women?
I think there's two main reasons. The first is that because of trauma, a lot of women believe that it's unsafe to take care of their own needs or to ask for what they need. So it's a survival mechanism. And it's important to note that this, at the time that it happened, was healthy and necessary. So there's nothing wrong with it. The second mechanism that I see is that later in life, people who have these skills use it because they want to be loving for the people around them. They want to be caring, and that's really beautiful. The only problem is that they haven't learned to take care and to love themselves first. So that's kind of like the core of what we need to move towards in that case.
So many of them said the same painful thing in different words. Saying no makes me feel selfish, and I feel guilty taking time for myself. Where does that guilt actually come from?
Well, guilt in itself isn't proof that you're doing anything wrong. I think guilt is mostly a habit that comes from that pattern of survival. And the story that you are a bad person if you take care of yourself, because that's framed as selfish, is a very common story in our society. So there's a big difference, I believe, between being self-centered and being self-honoring. And I think being self-honoring is something that everyone needs to get to at some point. The good news is that the guilt is a kind of a habit, not so much a truth. So it's something you can change by practice.
This one really got me. A lot of women wrote things like, "I've lost touch with who I really am," and "I just want to find my sparkle again." What's actually happening when someone feels that way?
Yeah, that's a great question. The good news is you didn't lose yourself, ever. You can't lose yourself, really. What happens is that you get buried under layers of roles that you've been asked to take up over time. And these could be being a mother, being a caretaker, being a spouse, being an employee, whatever it is. And so underneath all those layers that kind of dictate how you have to behave, your own aliveness, that spark that you speak of, is still very much there. But in order to reconnect with it, we need to deconstruct the layers on top and come back to that authentic place where you can actually feel what's true for you.
Some of the women answering aren't just busy, they're carrying a lot. Caring for a husband after a stroke, aging parents, grief, their own health. For someone who feels completely drained and empty, what would you want them to hear?
The main issue is self-compassion. Once you have developed self-compassion and you can feel that kindness toward yourself, then you can learn that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And so showing up to people around you gets so much easier and better when you actually take care of your needs first. And the important part is to not put any pressure on yourself or not make yourself feel guilty for not having done that work yet. Right? It's a self-perpetuating system. So breaking that cycle with kindness and compassion towards the self is the first step.
For the woman thinking, "I'm ready for a new chapter, but I have no idea where to start," what's the very first step? Does it have to be big?
No, I think it can't be big. I think anyone who tries to make meaningful change by making a big step first is destined to fail. And that's because our nervous system needs time to adapt to new situations. So wanting to create change, the best way to approach that is by making very small changes first. And I believe no matter what your situation is in life, there's always a small change that you can take even right now that will improve the way you show up for yourself, that will improve the way you feel about yourself, that will improve the possibility you then have later to increase your practice of self-love and self-care and nourishing yourself so that you can show up for others. So the first step is always really small and careful.
If someone gives you even a little of their time and attention, what can actually change for them? What do you see happen for people you work with?
Well, I don't know if a little of their time is enough. This is deep work, right? This is transformational work. This is time-sensitive work. It requires a lot of space and spaciousness. And what I've seen as transformations is that most people, the most important part is that they come back to themselves. They find themselves again. They find their aliveness, and then they are able to make decisions for their lives from that place of like, wait, but who am I really and what do I need? And the decision-making process and then enacting all those decisions can take a long time. But that first transformation that we see is usually this, oh, I'm so happy that I'm getting back in touch with who I am. And that is actually not as hard as it seems.
I know you've put together a free workshop for our community. Could you tell everyone what it is and who it's really for?
Yes, it's called When Is It My Turn? And it's a free live workshop with me, and you will also be there. We'll be together for about an hour. And in that workshop, we will look at why people happen to be last on their own list and then go into a small practice that can already change something very meaningful, even in just a small amount of time, things that people can do that day. And what's important to know is that this is not something you need to be ready for or prepare for. There's nothing you need to read. There is no kind of work you need to have done. You can just show up, because in the end, every, even very long journey starts with a small step. And this can be your small first step.
I have trusted this man with the hardest moment of my life for 18 years. If you've ever wondered, when is it finally my turn? Well, I am handing you that turn right now. There's a link below. Save your spot and Joachim and I will see you there.